Samoa, a chain of islands in the South Pacific holding 10 islands in total. However, many know of two main ones, Samoa and American Samoa, located 4,838 miles from San Diego. Together, both islands hold a population of 300,000 plus people, Samoa being the most populated and American Samoa being the least. 300,000 plus people with great pride for their country. 300,000 plus people who are able to proudly say, I am Samoan. However, there is more than just the 300,000 plus. Samoans have started to migrate towards the United States within the 18th century and are still migrating to this day, which stemmed the idea for this very project you are watching. Hi, my name is Maranumi Moni, student of Helix High. On May 25th, 2001, I was born to two Samoan parents in San Diego, California. Early on in my life, I moved to American Samoa to live with my aunt in the village of Pawaiʻi, where I was raised for 13 years. I lived the life of an American Samoan kid, but in my teenage years, I moved back here to San Diego, where I remain today. As one that has lived as both an American Samoan and as a Samoan living in America, I can speak from experience when I say that there are differences between the two. And there is also a difference with those who live in Western Samoa. I wanted to explore what these differences were, but I also wanted to see if there were any similarities tying us all together as Samoans. So, in order to understand these differences and to discover what the Samoan national identity is to them, I decided to interview kids my age from all three backgrounds. Samoan teenagers from three different environments. What can their experience and views tell us about the Samoan identity? This is their story, and how the Samoan culture fits into their lives.
Hi, I'm Anderson Sadele and I'm 19 years of age.
Hi, I'm Fanema Sosi and I'm 18. I mean, 17, turning 18. Hi, my name is Louisa Tausi, her youngest sister, and I am 17 years of age. No, 16, turning 17 on March. Hi, my name is Kristen Husband, and I am 17 years of age.
My name is Saitu Soniel. I'm 14. I'm a freshman at Helix.
My name is Cameron Faya, and I'm a freshman at Helix.
My name is Carl Ferraro. I'm 17 years old, and I attend Boston Merit High School, which is a Catholic private school.
My name is Lovely Maunga. I'm a senior at Helix Charter High School, and I'm 17.
I'm Noah. I'm a junior at Helix High, San Diego,
Hi, I'm Randy Malala. I'm 17 years old and I attend Helix.
The Samoan culture is rich in ceremony and has a strong adherence to tradition. Though many years have passed, the Fa Samoa or the Samoan way has been preserved as a way of life for a Samoan. From the Samoan Siva to the everyday fe'aus or from the church konga'is to lokuafiafis, Samoan culture has weaved itself into the life of the everyday Samoan, regardless of where they are from. With that in mind, I wanted to see how the culture affected their personal views and values. So how has the Samoan culture impacted you personally?
I think being Samoan and being raised in that culture, it really raised us up in a way of being more respectful. So not just only our parents and everyone, but to everyone else that we meet. And it really just prepares us for how the world's gonna be. If you're acting all bad and stuff, and then you just don't know what will happen to you in the future. So I think being raised under our Samoan culture is really big.
Yeah, I think that especially something else that is taught in Samoan culture is faith. Faith is definitely a big part. Certainly changed me. And I don't think that it would be I would be as faithful as I am right now in my relationship with God if it wasn't for my culture, my family.
Being around other races besides Samoans really gave me I didn't have tunnel vision. I'm more open to what people have gone through and just the society that we're in. Every culture has been through something.
Like it's just a different level of diversity.
Mm.
Like down here, yeah, there's a lot of different type of cultures at the same time, but like the dominant culture we have down here is Samoan. So like it's just that's just what we live in. Like
Right.
other cultures are influenced into our culture
Right.
with that, and like out there, it's just a big diverse world. So like you're just very like you're learning things very fast, and you're just like learning from different backgrounds.
Simply having the identity of a Samoan brings with it a core set of values upheld regardless of the place they grow up. The kids of Helix let us know that the culture teaches them early on the importance of family, the importance of the Christian faith, and even basic manners. These very teachings were instilled in their parents and grandparents in Samoa long ago, and it is still being taught for teenagers over there today. Despite the shared core values, the environment seems to impact teenagers. With Samoans being a minority group in the US, the values of the predominant American culture tend to be incorporated into the culture of Samoan Americans, whereas the culture of Samoa is incorporated of the minority groups that live in Samoa. This response interested me, so I wanted to dive further into this idea of the environment affecting the culture. Instead of looking at it on a broader scope, I decided to narrow it down and look at it through the topic of uniforms. The change from school uniforms to free dress was one of the most noticeable differences in school life to me when I moved back here. Though the US is no stranger to uniforms, it is not the dominant school policy throughout the nation as it is in Samoa.
Samoa, you always like wear like clothes that
It's
like
under your knees, like,
under your
Right.
So,
or yeah, true, yeah.
so our uniform is like past our knees. Like we had to wear, yeah.
Like,
Like
yeah.
That represented overseas the sports.
As for kids with lack of uniform, it kind of, us as people want to express how we feel through the way we dress, you know?
There's a lot of wealthy kids at our school, and then there's a lot of not so wealthy kids that are going off of financial aid, like myself. And I feel like us wearing uniform is giving us equality. So you can't tell the difference between who's rich, who's okay, and who's barely making it. Everyone's the same level at school.
That in here, your uniform is it symbolizes unity.
From this example on uniforms, it can be seen that the place where these Samoans grow up can indeed have an effect on what they value. As I expected, their answers varied according to where they were from. For Samoans in Samoa, there is a general similarity in their socio-economic background. Therefore, that is not their primary focus. Instead, they emphasize uniformity and focus more on their origin and the pride that stems from it. Growing up in Samoa, uniforms were extended outside of the school. For example, my church would have different uniforms for different performances. Even in my home, a concept similar to uniforms are made. When we went to tailor for outfits, each member of our family used the same ie or fabric for our outfits so that we matched each other. And this is not limited to my family. So from the school to the church and to home, uniformity is all around Samoa, which explains why these Samoans preferred the use of uniforms in school. For Samoans in America, the story is a little different. The socioeconomic status and self-expression are highly emphasized aspects of society. These topics pop up in day-to-day conversations and often show up in the news. Oftentimes, America is divided on these topics. Looking at the answers the Samoans in America presented, we can see that these ideas also influence the way they think about uniforms. Some Samoans here argue that uniforms restrict them from their free expression and firmly reject the idea, whereas others believe that uniforms promote equality and support it. Just like the division seen in the national scale, we can also see the division in the Samoan community on this topic. So what does this mean? Well, aside from these fundamental values, Samoans are open to change and are able to adapt in the environment they are in. The Samoan culture highly emphasizes the productivity of the youth. This can be seen in the importance of fi'aus in the private sphere and their responsibilities in the church or community gatherings in the public sphere. Samoans continually stress the importance of staying productive and heavily discourage laziness, possibly because productivity was strongly tethered to life on the islands, especially on the youth. One of the ways this drive for productivity has manifested itself in the modern era is through school. Many Samoan parents have placed a strong emphasis on school in accordance with the significance of productivity in the culture. With this in mind, I wanted to see how this aspect of Samoan culture affected their future goals and plans. Has the Samoan culture impacted your personal goals? And if so, how?
It's getting out there in America and trying to make a living for you and your family, not only for yourself, but like for everyone that's been there throughout your whole life. So like you're just trying your best to like get everything settled and make things settled down here, you know? Like come back and contribute.
Heck yeah, shoot. I mean, growing up being a family-oriented guy kind of makes you want to push yourself for the better to make, you know, to make your family better, you know, better living too.
Yeah, but living in such a small place where we barely have, certainly motivated me to really pursue higher education in the off island. But just looking around, most kids here, this is not to bash anyone, but most kids here don't know what to do after high school, and it's not their problem.
The Samoan culture has positively impacted the youth and instilled in them a strong desire to push forward in their education. A lot of the participants have said that they are thankful for the support and motivation that they receive from their Samoan family. Because of this, many of them are eager to do well in school in order to give back to them. Because of my limited resources as a high school student, I do not have access to a huge sample of people. Most were friends and volunteers who kindly decided to speak with me. I also don't have access to a database of information from throughout the years. But what can I tell you from my experience interviewing all these people? Are Samoans different depending on where they are from? Sure. Where we are influences some of our values and how we think, but at the very core, we share core traits that define as Samoan. Our love for our family, our behavior in the community, and our strong devotion to God. In the end, no matter where we are all just Samoan teenagers trying to move forward in life while maintaining the spirit. Moni.